and good evening. It is a Monday. Thank you so much for joining us. You are watching News Plus. Here's to hoping that you did have a restful weekend. A quick look at stories making the headlines tonight. President Mnangagwa today presided over the burial of national hero Luke Mushore at the National Heroes Acre. In his address at the burial, the president had a special message for young people in the country. We give you extracts from his speech later in the bulletin. Market watchers say Zimbabwe's economic reforms are progressive, aligning with recommendations by the International Monetary Fund. News Plus takes a closer look at the reforms as well as the IMF's prescriptions. We shall also give you the latest on a fatal accident which claimed 6 lives along the Harare-Mutare highway near Headlands earlier today. And when we take a look at sport later on, Dynamo's coach Sol Chaminuka has defended the decision by his players to walk off the field in protest at a penalty that had been awarded to FC Platinum in matchday 17 of the Kazulaga Premier Soccer League encounter at Mandava Stadium in Rishavani. My name is Faith Nyaude. Now we give you stories in detail. Zimbabwean leader President Emmerson Mnangagwa has called on young people to emulate the selflessness and patriotism shown by departed nationalists. President Mnangagwa was officiating at the burial of the late national hero Luke Mushore, who died on the 13th of June. Mushore, who was a former member of parliament for Muzarabani South, among other political hats, died after a long illness. More from the following report.
As President Mnangagwa presided over the burial of the late Liberation War hero Luke Mushore, he remembered him for his immense contribution to the country before and after independence. Mushore joined the liberation struggle in 1972 and was in the war front alongside Frelimo fighters from Mozambique. Addressing mourners, President Mnangagwa urged young people to emulate such selflessness and humility shown by departed national heroes such as the war veteran Mushore.
I further challenge all Zimbabweans, particularly our young people and the youth, to take lessons from the good traits of true patriotism. Humility, selflessness, and discipline that were exhibited by our late national hero. We must emulate.
During his lifetime, the late Luke Mushore wore many political hats. He was a freedom fighter who later joined the police force briefly after independence. He also served as a member of parliament for Muzarabani North and South constituencies. Mushore was also a former provincial chairperson for Mashonaland Central under the ruling party ZANU-PF. President Mnangagwa described him as a trusted and loyal cadre.
The late Comrade Mushore was a dependable cadre and a pillar who diligently aided both the work of our party and government with distinguished honor and sacrifice. He served as ZANU-PF chairman for Mashonaland Central Province and was a servant of the people.
Away from politics, the late Luke Mushore was a family man who was remembered for being a protector and a leader. His granddaughter Natalie Mushore described the late national hero as a guiding light to the family.
To his children, he was a guiding light, teaching us the values of his integrity, hard work, and love for our country. To his siblings, he was a protector, always ready to lead with courage. To his spouse, he was a partner whose devotion never wavered.
President Mnangagwa presented the national flag to the family of the deceased, a ritual performed for all national heroes. The late war veteran Mushore is survived by 4 wives and 21 children. Cheryl Munjenjema for ZTN News at the National Heroes Acre.
Now we give you a brief history of the late national hero, Luke Mushore.
Known by his Chimurenga name, Dick Joboringo, was born on 15 June 1949 in Madziwa, Mushore village, now Zimbabwe's Mashonaland Central Province. He became involved in the liberation struggle in 1972 while residing in the Muzarabani district, specifically in Kagodo village, under the leadership of Chief Kasekete. The pinnacle of Mushore's participation in the liberation war occurred when they initiated an assault on Dramuda farm in Centenary alongside fellow comrades, subsequently retreating to Lower Mzarabani, where they resided for 2 days at Chadereka. After several days at Chadereka, the courageous freedom fighters journeyed to Chifombo, a location that shares borders with both Zambia and Mozambique, and subsequently crossed into Zambia. Upon gaining independence, Comrade Mushore settled in Mutoko, Mashonaland East Province, and secured a position as a police commissioner in 1980 at the police headquarters. He served in this role before being transferred to the Ministry of Sport and Culture in Junoy. Following his retirement from civil service, he entered the political arena, eventually becoming the district party chairman. He advanced to the position of provincial chairperson and was subsequently elected as the Member of Parliament of Muzarabani South and North constituencies representing ZANU-PF. He died on June 13, 2025 and is survived by 4 wives and 21 children.
Now, on the economic front, Zimbabwe's reform efforts are gaining traction, this time with a nod of alignment from global market watchers. Following the conclusion of the International Monetary Fund's Article 4 mission, the Reserve Bank of Zimbabwe's Monetary Policy Committee and market watchers say Zimbabwe's monetary and fiscal policy direction is closely mirroring the fund's latest recommendations, a positive signal ahead of a possible staff-monitored program. Our business reporter, Melissa Chachkobo, gives us more.
The International Monetary Fund has commended Zimbabwe for achieving economic stability, which has been seen through improved exchange rate management and also a slowdown in inflation. A vote of confidence, but Harare was given further recommendations. These include enhancing cash budgeting through improved planning and tighter spending controls, improving the functioning of the willing buyer, willing seller market through a more transparent price setting mechanism, providing more clarity on the operational implications of the transition plan to a monocurrency system by 2030. However, monetary authorities say Zimbabwe was already working on such measures.
The bulk of the recommendations by IMF is in line with what government is currently doing, or what even the monetary authorities are currently doing.
With inflation cooling and policy consistency, the groundwork for a credible staff-monitored program appears to be in place. Momentum is building, and Zimbabwe could soon be on a formal IMF reform track.
The central bank has largely been transparent in terms of the reserves. You have seen the president visiting the central bank and satisfying the nation, assuring the nation about the availability of reserves in the economy.
Economists point to the transfer of quasi-fiscal operations from the RBZ to the Treasury as proof of serious intent. These are key elements the IMF wants in place before launching an SMP.
I think it has largely been achieved. We will be aware that the Minister has already disclosed the intention to maintain a cash budget and controlled spending in a way that is not inflationary, and doing away with obligations in the medium to long term, and reducing quasi-fiscal operations from the central bank to Treasury, as is supposed to be the case. But also would submit that there is need for there to be long-term funding for infrastructure projects.
If the current reform drive holds, Zimbabwe may finally unlock the confidence and support needed to re-engage global creditors. Zimbabwean authorities say they are ready to implement the reforms outlined by the IMF. They believe partaking in the SMP program will improve Zimbabwe's economic landscape. Reporting for ZTM Prime, I'm Melissa Chatkobo in Harare.
Now, staying with this subject, we are now joined by our business correspondent, Ibn Mabunda, as we just delve deeper into what was just divulged. Ibn, a very good evening to you. Now, before we talk about the recommendations, which areas did the IMF commend Zimbabwe's macroeconomic efforts?
Well, good evening. The International Monetary Fund in their Article 4 mission did commend Zimbabwe for a reduction in terms of the month-on-month inflation, which has averaged 0.5% between February and May of 2025. At the same time, the parallel market premiums, which is the gap between the value of the domestic currency on the formal market vis-a-vis on the parallel market, which has narrowed to about 20% from highs of 70-80% that were witnessed with the Zim dollar in 2024. At the same time, the IMF did commend Zimbabwe for the removal of the cap that was there on the willing buyer, willing seller, which was a 5% cap, which was somewhat restrictive where retailers and other traders in the economy were concerned. So these are some of the elements that have been indicated by the IMF, as well as Zimbabwe's intention, as well as initiatives to restructure its debt, as well as commitment to meeting its domestic as well as foreign obligations.
So now, Ibn, what are the IMF's key recommendations from a monetary point of view?
On the monetary front, well, the IMF is very clear that as Zimbabwe seeks to move toward a monocurrency, that means the obliteration of the multi-currency regime, the IMF is saying there needs to be a very clear path in terms of how that will be implemented. And as and when that gets to materialize, the US dollar balances of depositors must be kept in US dollar form. There must not be a dilution of the value of foreign currency that is kept by, of course, economic agents with the banks, and there must be a separation between US dollar balances and ZiG denominated balances, so that there isn't any value loss, so that the fears of yesteryear are not relived as and when Zimbabwe gets to move towards a monocurrency. But the IMF believes that a monocurrency is something that Zimbabwe needs to move toward. At the same time, the IMF is also calling for the obliteration of the seeding form of regime, which is there for exporters, which states that 30% of their proceeds must be converted into the domestic currency. Instead, IMF says that a bureau system would be more efficient, would be more effective, and would bring equilibrium onto the market. So these are some of the recommendations that, of course, the IMF has been calling for where, of course, the monetary front is concerned.
So now, what about on the fiscal front? What are they prescribing?
Well, where the fiscal front is concerned, the IMF is calling for discipline. Discipline would be the key term there, ensuring that infrastructural projects and all other forms of government expenditure are kept in check. And now with budget consultations for 2026 gaining traction, it would be important to ensure that cash budgeting is the modus operandi. At the same time, there have been calls to ensure that from a revenue generating front, that's where ZIMRA is concerned, policies that ensure the wider adoption of the domestic currency would need to be implemented. The third pillar being the Mutapa sovereign fund. There is need for transparency, according to the IMF, where the operations of the Mutapa is actually concerned, seeing to that there are institutional reforms as well as transparency. And so those would be the key legs or key pillars underscored where the fiscal front is concerned.
Well, even Wabunda, our business correspondent, just helping us break down what the IMF has been recommending from the document that they have published. Now, after the break, we give you details on an accident that occurred near Headlands, as well as a foot and mouth outbreak in Baitbridge. Stay with us.
Win big in the EcoCash Chakachaya Ziawaku EcoCash promotion with over 200,000 winners. Earn at least 20 points when you cash in, send money, buy airtime or data, make payments, receive money from the diaspora, or receive your salary via EcoCash. And you could be in the running to win an all-expenses-paid trip to watch an AFCON match in Morocco, a holiday for two in Dubai, solar kits, cows, fridges, gas stoves, motorbikes, cash, airtime, and so much more. It's simple. Simply transact, earn points, and win in the Chakachaya Ziawaku EcoCash promotion. Dial *151# or use the EcoCash app now. EcoCash. Live life the EcoCash way.
Asilwela ukunqoba kuphela. Kepha silwela ukwakha isizwe esinohlonze.
Sekunjalo.
Welcome back. You are still watching News Plus. Now, 6 people were killed when a Honda Fit vehicle that they were traveling in collided head-on with a Sinohao truck on Sunday evening. Police confirmed the accident, saying the driver of the Honda Fit was driving towards Mutare with 5 passengers on board, and on approaching a blind curve at the 142-kilometer peg, he attempted to overtake a tractor while there was an oncoming Sinohao truck, resulting in a head-on collision. All 6 occupants of the Honda Fit vehicle died on the spot, and their bodies were taken to Rusape General Hospital for post-mortem. Now, an outbreak of foot and mouth has been reported in Baitbridge, with the area being put under quarantine to control the outbreak. This was reviewed by the Matabeleland South Provincial Veterinary Director, Dr. Enat Mlongwa, during the province's Provincial Development Committee meeting that is being held in Blayo. Dr. Mlongwa said that they are currently on the ground with indications pointing to free-roaming buffaloes as a source of the outbreak.
We have found it in 3 properties. We found it at Mavimba Tiptang. We've also found it at Chopepe Tiptang, and we've also found it at Roy Cooper's farm. This is how this disease is spread. And for foot and mouth being an infectious disease, if you don't put everything under quarantine, you risk exporting this disease, to other places. But we are going to be slowly, removing some of the quarantine, areas that we've put under quarantine, so that people continue to trade.
In other news, Zimbabwe's Minister of Foreign Affairs and International Trade, Professor Amon Murira, today had a courtesy call from Brazil's ambassador to Zimbabwe, Vilma Rodrigo Coutinho. Zimbabwe and Brazil have reaffirmed their commitment to strengthening bilateral relations, with discussions focusing on cooperation in agriculture, trade, and technology transfer. Discussions also touched on Zimbabwe's formal application to join BRICS, with Brazil's current chairmanship providing valuable guidance on the necessary steps.
And Brazil, to us, has an extremely strong and excellent attitude of cooperation, especially South-South cooperation. Brazil is a very strong country in that, and it aligns very well with the Zimbabwe's vision, as expressed by His Excellency the President, Dr. Idi Mnangagwa, of making sure that we make a better world. We have also discussed about Zimbabwe's formal application to be associated with BRICS in the categories that are deemed fit within BRICS, but we are associated with BRICS because Brazil is the current chair of BRICS. We have had a lot of exchanges, positive, and a good guidance from Brazil as chair of our BRICS on steps that we have to take, which we are already taking. So it has been a very excellent meeting.
Now, the meeting did conclude with the Brazilian ambassador expressing the need to deepen ties and explore new opportunities for collaboration.
Yes, the bilateral relations between the two countries are at an excellent level, and I feel that we can still improve them even further by collaborating deeper in a number of areas, particularly in the area of agriculture, where we believe we can bring a substantial and positive support for Zimbabwe. Zimbabwe has just joined the Alliance Against Hunger and Poverty, which for us was a very welcome movement, and I'm certain that the two countries will be in a position to work closely together to make the alliance a success. And we will also try to deepen our cooperation in many other areas, including multilateral areas, as you've heard the minister, the interest of Zimbabwe of joining the BRICS, that we are now working on this, hopefully to come to a successful conclusion on this matter very soon.
Now, today is not only a Monday, but it is the last week of the month of June. And to prepare you now for the week ahead, we are now joined by Christine, who is with the Met Department, to give us an update on the weather. Christine, a very good evening to you, and thank you so much for joining us right here on News Plus. Like we did say, it is the last week of the month. As we now enter this week, what is the weather looking like for the rest of the month? Are we past the peak of winter now?
So as June is about to come to an end, we're going to be experiencing sunny and warm weather over the southern parts of the country during the afternoons, though the mornings should be very cold and overnight should be cold as well, with temperatures as low as 0 degrees Celsius, with slight chances of ground frost in areas such as Nyanga, Masvingo, Wedza, Matopos, Kezi, as well as Gwanda. And we are not past the peak of winter season, and as we get into July, we're going to be having more very low temperatures in areas over higher ground such as Marundera, Wedza and Nyanga, with areas such as Matopos as well experiencing very low temperatures throughout the winter season. So we're not yet past the winter season, we're just starting. We're going to be experiencing more cold spells in areas over the southern region, which is Matabele and southern parts of the Midlands, Masvingo, as well as Manicaland.
Now, Christine, you did mention that it is not yet the end of the winter season, but we are now coming into June. What is the weather going to be looking like for the farmers?
All right, so as we enter the month of July, it's going to be more of sunny and warm weather during the afternoons, while the mornings should be very cold and nights should be very cold as well, and with chances of ground frost in areas over the southern region, which is Matabele and southern parts of the Midlands, Masvingo, as well as Manicaland, and areas such as Nyanga, Masvingo, Wedza, Henderson, Kezi, West Nicholson, Matopos will be experiencing slight ground frost here and there, and measures farmers could take into consideration are the use of covering plants, like using fabrics, plastics, as well as using irrigation systems where by irrigation can protect plants by releasing latent heat when water freezes on plants, as well as using the advices from their agritech officers.
Christine Sibanda with the Met Department just joining us. Christine, thank you so much for your time. Now, a bold dream by Zimbabweans living abroad is taking shape just outside Blayo, turning once virgin land into luxurious gated communities. Mzinyatini Gardens, a 1,000-home housing development in Kensington, is not just brick and mortar. It is a statement of hope, return, and a future reclaimed.
Once a bush, now a valley of grandeur in the making, Mzinyati Gardens, a multi-million-dollar project, is rising from the red soils of Kensington, a prestigious housing project driven by the passion of Zimbabweans working abroad. A diasporan dream is coming to life and empowering local communities in the process. 3 distinct model homes already stand as prototypes, showcasing modern designs on expansive plots.
We make sure to umuntu esakha. Make sure to umuntu esakha and we monitor. We strictly monitor those houses. because we want ukuthi at least nxa indlulane iphela kuphume the exact thing which we want. Asifuni kuphume something yabe ngekho below standard.
And behind the bricks and concrete lies a powerful story of economic empowerment. Women from nearby communities are not just building homes, they are building livelihoods as the project has brought hope, employment, and also smiles in the face of mothers who can now provide.
Kambani iri kutibatsira because ndine vana vanga vasingatodzidzini, but nokuda kwei kambani vana vangu vakuenda kuchikoro, vana vangu vakudyawo, zvakawanda zvandatoita kubva ndatanga kushanda ini, plus hatibhadhari renti, tochaisa tichienda kumisha yedu toonana nevana, makuseni touya kubasa.
For Meta Ndlovu, being able to help her husband financially in the household and rising from a novice to a skilled builder is a dream fulfilled.
Mina ngiqalisa ukusebenza la endlini kwakuwomile, kungela lutho endlini, ubaba engasebenzi. So ekusebenzeni lapha kungincedile kakhulu ngoba kusukela lokho engasebenzayo izinto zami zazingihambela kuhle. Mina ngisebenza lapha njengobhilida ngabuya lapha ngingu-assistant.
But the journey hasn't been smooth. The developers say red tape is threatening to delay progress despite all paperwork being in order. Zazali Zita Khumalo, co-founder of the Mzinyati Gardens project, expressed frustration with the bureaucratic obstacles posed by the Umkuza Rural District Council in granting the required development permit.
Gated communities are the future. So if you ever have to develop anything as a precursor of any city or a metropolis, it has to start with housing. So we are bringing these gated communities as a precursor, as a foundation of what we want to do in this whole place. So far, we've done a lot. We've acquired almost 200 hectares of land. It's huge, and we've started with some developments.
Khumalo says the project has met all the requirements as mandated by the local authority, but the failure to acquire the development permit has started to wear down the beneficiaries' zeal to start building their homes.
I had given up on Zim. My kids are in South Africa, my wife in South Africa, my siblings are in South Africa. So we are very established there. We have a nice life there, to be honest. But when the president and the resident minister started, visiting the diaspora communities to come and invest back home, that's when I decided that, let's give it a chance.
Mzinyati Gardens is not just about luxury homes, it's about legacy, the dream of Zimbabweans abroad who never stopped loving their home, and the communities here who are part of building it.
For many diasporans, the dream is to eventually come back home and live their dreams. For a group of diasporans, this dream is closer to reality here at Mzinyati Gardens. For ZTN Prime, I'm Andile Chuma in Umkuza.
Now, from housing development, we talk about conservation and wildlife. The Minister of Environment, Climate and Wildlife, Dr. Evelyn Ndlovu, has officially commissioned state-of-the-art infrastructure and equipment at Matetse Unit 5 and Wangen National Park to bolster conservation efforts. The project, valued at over $200,000, were undertaken by the Zimbabwe Parks and Wildlife Management Authority in collaboration with the International Fund for Animal Welfare. The new facilities include a high-tech operations center at Wangen National Park, featuring the Earth Ranger system for real-time wildlife tracking and data collection, as well as modern ranger houses at Matetse Unit 5 camp. Dr. Ndlovu highlighted the dual benefits of enhanced ranger welfare and improved conservation outcomes.
They fulfill some of our goals. One of the goals is to make sure that the workers that are employed by Zimpax and the ministry are comfortable with their families at this point of work, whether it's a workstation or it's accommodation. Today we've just witnessed me officially opening one of the houses, these houses, the two facilities that are here. Yesterday we officially opened some facilities including the ICT gadgets that are facilitating effective management of wildlife, so that we see address indaba ye-wildlife labantu conflict enalana.
You are watching News Plus. Stay with us.
Crowd goes absolutely emphatic. He has done it.
Get ready for more on Supersport, the only place to watch all the FIFA Club World Cup. Win big in the EcoCash Chakachaya Ziawaku EcoCash promotion with over 200,000 winners. Earn at least 20 points when you cash in. Send money, buy airtime or data, make payments, receive money from the diaspora, or receive your salary via EcoCash. And you could be in the running to win an all-expenses-paid trip to watch an AFCON match in Morocco, a holiday for two in Dubai, solar kits, cows, fridges, gas stoves, motorbikes, cash, airtime, and so much more. It's simple. Simply transact, earn points, and win in the Chakachaya Ziawaku EcoCash promotion. Dial *151# or use the EcoCash app now. EcoCash. Live life the EcoCash way.
Welcome back. You are still watching News Plus. Now, Masvingo City Council has embarked on an expansion project at one of its clinics, Runyararo, in response to an increasing number of key populations seeking treatment services. Currently, the clinic has nearly 100 members of the key population accessing their services. It has a catchment population of around 28,000 people. City Health Director Suzanne Badamombe told journalists that the expansion of the clinic was also taking into account privacy concerns by key populations such as sex workers.
We also had our own funds that have already been availed with regards to support of our program. For example, I think you can see that we are expanding our infrastructure because we had noted that we have got a problem of privacy with regards to our KVP program. So we mitigated that by ensuring that we would put into our 2025 budget funds so that we expand our clinic. So we are now going to be able to have some activities that are within the KP program being done also on the extension that we are doing. So we are going to be enhancing our privacy as we are offering our services to the KPs.
Kimberly Chimalanga has the latest from the courts.
Environment Trimorchari has been charged for unlawful possession of dangerous drugs after he was found with 28 grams of crystal meth with a street value of $280. Allegations are that after Chari noticed detectives tailing him, he tried running away and was later apprehended. A body search was conducted and he was found in possession of 3 sachets of crystal meth. He was remanded in custody to June 24 for bail application. Moving on, a Hatfield man has been charged with rape after he sexually abused his family's 15-year-old domestic worker. Circumstances add that the accused's mother instructed him to show the complainant the way to an outside cabin where he was supposed to sleep. The accused is alleged to have raped the minor soon after arriving at the cabin. The minor is said to have confided in the accused's mother about the abuse, but she is said to have not taken any action. The minor is alleged to have run away and confided in a female police officer who later took her to a nearby children's home after arresting the accused. He was advised to approach the High Court for bail and will return to court on July 7. Still at the courts, a Chinese couple, Niu Shihao and Wang Runji, has been charged with fraud after they fraudulently obtained Kimsa Mining Zimbabwe Private Limited documents and added Shihao as a director. The couple, previously employed as general hands by the company, allegedly opened their own company. They are alleged to have transferred the complainant's mining rights to their company. They were remanded in custody to June 24 for bail application. For the TN Prime, I'm Kimberly Chimbalanga in Harare.
Now look at news from around the world. The United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees, Filippo Grandi, has called on the international community to step up development assistance along with humanitarian assistance to refugees. In an interview marking World Refugee Day that fell on Friday, Grandi briefed China Central Television in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia, on the dire humanitarian situation faced by tens of millions of displaced people in Africa. The UN refugee chief stressed the need to provide these populations with both humanitarian aid and all-round development assistance.
Africa hosts more than 40 million refugees or internally displaced people. These are like refugees, but they don't cross borders. This is 1/3 of the total displaced population in the world, which is about 122 million. That's a very high figure. And why? Because of so many conflicts. You have the Sudan war, you have war in the Democratic Republic of Congo, you have many conflicts in the Sahel region in West Africa, you have political tensions in places like South Sudan, fragility in places like Somalia. It is also violations of human rights, and it is also other phenomena like climate change that is putting a lot of pressure on poor communities throughout the continent. All of this situation push people to move from their homes, and when they can, they cross borders and become refugees.
In Burkina Faso, they have launched an unprecedented national environmental campaign that is aimed at planting 5 million trees in 1 hour as part of the country's fight against desertification. The initiative, called the Patriotic Hour for Greening the Nation, was held this weekend in conjunction with the country's 7th National Tree Day. Thousands of citizens from across the country took part in this event. They carried seedlings, dug holes, and watered the newly planted saplings. Now, in Bodo-Dioulasso, the second largest city in Burkina Faso, residents came together in Sector 25 to plant more than 2,000 trees.
Je l'ai fait tout simplement par rapport à l'appel de notre président, son Excellence, le capitaine Ibrahim Traoré. Voilà, ce jour-ci, c'est très bien de planter des arbres. Mais moi, ce n'est pas ma première fois. Depuis mon enfance, j'ai toujours aimé planter des arbres. En tout cas, c'est un très grand plaisir pour moi. Même sans l'appel, j'ai toujours aimé planter des arbres. Et cette fois-ci, l'initiative est bienvenue. Donc, c'est devenu une occasion pour moi de le faire.
In Syria, a suicide bomb attack rocked a church in the capital, Damascus, during a packed service on Sunday, leaving at least 20 people dead and 63 others wounded. Reports say the attack took place at the Mar Elias Church in the Douala neighborhood. Now, according to Syrian authorities, 2 attackers stormed the church, opened fire on worshippers, and detonated explosive belts near the entrance. Syria's Interior Ministry blamed the Islamic State group for the attack. Now, Iran earlier today launched missile attacks on a U.S. military base in Qatar, retaliating for the American bombing of its nuclear sites and escalating tensions in the volatile region. Now, shortly after the attack, the Gulf nation of Bahrain, that is home to the U.S. fleet headquarters, temporarily suspended flights in its airspace, which is similar to what Qatar did shortly before it was hit. Iran said the attack in Qatar matched the number of bombs dropped by the United States on its nuclear sites over the weekend, signaling its likely desire to de-escalate. Iran also said it targeted the base because it was outside of populated areas. Those, of course, are some of the first images of the Iranian attacks on Qatar.
هلا في تنتين خبطوا ببعض كل واحدة من اتجاه.
Now, still with the issue of Iran, the Iranian foreign minister has emphasized the significance of his talks with Russia amid the rising tensions following U.S. strikes on Iranian nuclear sites ahead of his talks with Vladimir Putin in Moscow. He criticized the lack of condemnation from the international community regarding these attacks, which destroyed key facilities like Fordo, Natanz, and Isfasa. Russia condemned the U.S. actions as irresponsible at the UN Security Council. While President Trump and other Western leaders do argue against Iran having nuclear weapons, the IAEA chief pointed out insufficient evidence of Iran's nuclear armament. The situation escalated further with Israeli airstrikes on Operation Rising Lion and Iran's missile retaliation in Operation True Promise.
این حمله‌ای که آمریکا انجام داد حمله اول به منشور ملل متحد هست چون کاملا خلاف منشور هست، حمله به قوانین بین الملل هست، حمله به حقوق بین الملل هست، حمله به قوانین بین الملل هست و از همه مهمتر حمله به NPT و نظام عدم اشاعه هست. نظام عدم اشاعه که نقش مهمی در امنیت بین الملل داره، یک نظام منسجم و بسیار جدی هست که کشورهایی که صرف نظر میکنن از سلاح هسته‌ای در مقابلش مورد حمایت قرار میگیرن، هم به لحاظ استفاده صلح‌آمیز از انرژی هسته‌ای و هم به هر حال از جهت اینکه اطمینان پیدا بکنن که برنامه‌های صلح‌آمیزشون میتونه در سلامت ادامه پیدا بکنه. خب این الان سوال بزرگی هست وقتی اینطوری حمله به تأسیسات هسته‌ای کشور دیگه صورت میگیره و با افتخار ازش یاد میشه.
Now, the Zimbabwe tax collector is on course to meet their 2025 target. Details when we take a look at business news.
Harare. Tune into the beat.
Capitalk 100.4 FM, your source for news, business, sports, fashion, and more.
Experience the pulse of Harare's culture and lifestyle.
Capitalk 100.4 FM, Harare's top radio station.
Join the conversation with Zimbabwe's top personalities.
Subscribe now for fresh and infotainment content daily.
Capital 100.4 FM, Harare's heartbeat.
Captain Wally J's about to take you to boot camp.
It's the riveting science and tech show that keeps you up to date with the hottest gizmos on the block and revealing the illustrious and innovative visionaries in Zimbabwe. So much to see, you'll keep swiping.
This cherry red beauty is the Dairy Auto M7 mini electric car.
They've designed our brute force incubator board.
Look at what we've got here.
Solar powered scarecrow was part of the project that I was supposed to complete.
Catch Swipe every Tuesday at 5:30 p.m. on ZTN Prime, DSTV channel 294. Get the picture?
Welcome back. You are still watching News Plus, and now we take a look at some business news. The Institute of Chartered Accountants of Zimbabwe, ICAZ, has officially launched the mid-tier accounting designations Accounting Technician Zimbabwe and General Accountant Zimbabwe. This initiative represents a significant advancement in aligning educational outcomes with the economic demands and addressing the country's growing skills gap. Our business reporter, Melissa Chatkobo, gives us details.
To support business growth in a complex financial landscape, ICA's new mid-tier designation aims to build a pipeline of skilled professionals. These qualifications are crafted to build the bridge on the ongoing gap between academic learning and the practical technical skills required in today's rapidly evolving economy.
The designations marks a bold step forward in our mission to make accounting education more inclusive, practical, aligned with the evolving demands of the workplace.
Zimbabwe's Vision 2030 rests on the backbone of strong economic systems, driven by a dynamic and skilled workforce ready to power the nation's future. These designations are a timely step to align education with industry needs, ensuring a steady flow of ready-to-work professionals into both private and public institutions.
What ICAS did today speaks to the government's agenda around Education 5.0, because the technician qualification, the general accountant qualifications leverage so much on vocational education, work-based learning, and I believe that speaks to Education 5.0.
From supporting small businesses to streamlining government finance systems, mid-tier accountants have a central role in unlocking economic value. And with globally benchmarked standards, ICAS is positioning Zimbabwe as a hub of professionalism in the region.
As the ministry, we are happy to support this launch. It is a welcome development that speaks directly to the national imperative of building a competent, relevant, employable workforce starting from our school leavers.
With the launch of Accounting Technicians Zimbabwe and General Accountant Zimbabwe, Zimbabwe takes a bold step towards skills-led development, anchoring education, employment, and economic progress. Reporting for ZTM Prime, I'm Melissa Chatkobo in Harare.
Now, Zimbabwe Revenue Authority, ZIMRA, says they will continue to transform the organization's operational systems from human-based to digital-compliant platforms in order to reduce leakages and enhance compliance. ZIMRA recorded an increase in its revenue collection target for the year 2024 by 4.51%. More in the following report.
The Minister of Finance has commended the Zimbabwe Revenue Authority for its achievements in revenue mobilization, trade facilitation, and enhancing compliance during 2024. In 2023, the authority rolled out the Tax and Revenue Management System, a key milestone that enhanced efficiency across critical processes such as tax return submissions, payment management, and taxpayer registration.
The successful rollout of the Tax and Revenue Management System, the TAMS. This flagship digital initiative has redefined service delivery, streamlined tax interactions, and advanced our vision of a modern, technology-driven revenue authority.
Tax evasion remains a major concern, particularly within the informal sector. To tackle these challenges, ZIMRA has been urged to adopt more innovative and adaptive approaches.
Added to this are the broad macroeconomic challenges marked by volatility and external shocks, which test the robustness of our revenue systems. Addressing these challenges demands innovative approaches, interagency collaboration, and unyielding resolve.
Current electronic systems by ZIMRA further underlines effort to enhance efficiency and transparency in revenue collection. With the organization having surpassed its 2024 revenue collection target, Board Chair Anthony Mandiwanza is confident that their digital transformation will advance these successes.
The digital transformation is a key pillar to drive ZIMRA to the new world. There is no doubt in our mind as a board that we confront significant challenges in doing so, but we are comforted by the fact that it's not a one-day wonder. It is a continuum, a process that we will be implementing.
The implementation of strategies set to enhance revenue collection, reduce leakages, and improve compliance in the sector are indicative of the country's commitment to sustainable growth and attainment of its aspirations. For ZTM Prime, I am Sitachisiwe Gwaza.
Oh, you are watching News Plus. We'll be back shortly. Now look at some entertainment news. Zimbabwean Afrofusion star Shashil dazzled fans at the launch of her latest album, The First Quarter, held over the weekend at the 7 Arts Theatre in the capital. The album consists of 11 tracks, including the popular song Womera. The glamorous event attracted scores of fans and celebrities. Backed by a full band and well-curated lighting design, the production at 7 Arts Theatre was crisp, professional, and deeply immersive.
Don't
And still in entertainment, Goromonzi Arts Ensemble, representing Mashonaland East Province at this year's Chibuku Nishangwari National Finals, is determined to use the opportunity as a stepping stone to finally gain national recognition. The group, which has qualified for the finals 3 times in the past year, has yet to secure a top 3 spot. The group leader, Michael Mpandawana, says that this time around, they want to make their province proud and finally earn the recognition that they have been striving for. And I will give you some sporting action. Now in sports, Zimbabwe's Kirsty Coventry has taken over the presidency of the International Olympic Committee from Thomas Bach during a handover ceremony at the IOC headquarters in Lausanne, Switzerland. The 41-year-old former Olympic swimming champion did make history by becoming the first woman and the first African to lead the 131-year-old global sports body. Her presidential term is 8 years, with the possibility of seeking a 4-year extension. During her first speech as IOC president, Coventry praised the Olympic movement as a platform to inspire, a platform to change lives, and a platform to bring hope.
To the Olympic movement and our incredible Olympic family, how lucky are we? We get to work on creating a platform that is going to allow for generations to come, to allow for them to reach their dreams. It's amazing. It's incredible. And I can't believe that in 1992, when I had the dream of going to the Olympic Games and winning a gold medal for Zimbabwe, that I'd be standing here with all of you getting to make those dreams come true for more young people around the world. And it's not just about a multi-sport event. It's a platform to inspire. It's a platform to change lives. And it's a platform to bring hope. These are not things taken lightly. And I'm looking forward to working with each and every one of you to make sure that we continue to inspire, continue to change lives, and in our divided world today, continue to be a beacon of hope.
Now, in some football news, Dynamo's coach Socha Minuka has defended the decision to call his players off the field in protest against a contentious penalty decision in their match against FC Platinum at Mandawa on Saturday. The match between Dynamos and FC Platinum was abandoned in the 75th minute with the scoreline level at 1-1.
What solution can there be? What solution can there be? Has there been any game where points taken from a penalty kick, where then people sit down and say this was not a penalty here in Zimbabwe? Has that ever happened? What does it help us? How does it help us? Referees are not fair. Let me tell you the truth. They are not fair at all. And coaches are sacked because of the manner in which they are handling matches. And they just go scot-free. If they had allowed that penalty to be taken, they would have just gone scot-free. Right? At least the match commissioner has something to write in about. Let's see what the match commissioner is going to say about this game. Right? And we want to know what action he would have taken, the match commissioner, with what happened here at the bench, where a player kicks someone after the referee has blown. Right? And we go on to play 4 minutes with my counterpart shouting that he's wasting time. It is happening here where both of us are seeing. Mapesa saw that. What is he saying about that?
Still in football, Rodrigo Tlakama has been appointed the new Greenfield head coach a day after the Chisumbanje side suffered a heavy 5-1 defeat to Triangle at Gibo on Sunday. Tlakama replaces Taurai Mangwiro, who has been moved to the position of technical director. Now, Zimbabwe moved to the top of the PSL with a 1-0 win away to Yada at Hart Stadium in Waterfalls on Sunday. The win saw the Shamva side move 1 point ahead of Moors, who suffered a 3-1 defeat away to Ngezi Platinum Stars. At Baobab is a third win in a row for the defending champions, who reached the halfway point of the season as log leaders. Ngezi Platinum Stars ended Moore's 16-match unbeaten run with a comfortable 3-1 win over the surprise pace setters. Here is a recap of the action. Still in football, Triangle United were the biggest winners on match day 17, thrashing Greenfield 5-1 at Gibbon Sunday. Triangle coach Genesis Mangombe was pleased with the result, but insisted that his side still have a lot of work to do despite their recent form.
I'm happy. It's 4 games unbeaten. It's 2 draws, 2 wins. And you know, when you want to get out of relegation, that is exactly what we need to do. We need to post positive results with emphatic goal margin. So at the end of the day, I'm happy with the way how the boys are responding, and also the way we are doing our finishing is so flat has improved because we are scoring goals for fun. Like I always say, we don't want to have that complacence. You know, these boys, like you saw it, we considered that red card because of complacence. How can we concede a silly red card? So we need to be spot on and make sure that we psych up these guys to the fullest, so that we don't have those breakdowns like just underrating some teams because we are playing at home, because we have won with a big margin. We need to address those things, I think, at training. The major weakness with these boys is after winning, they think they can beat any other team. We need to work on those areas and make sure that we don't have that complexity.
Well, that's all we had for you on News Plus this Monday evening. Thank you so much for joining us. We leave you with the weather forecast. Good evening and enjoy the rest of your viewing.